prompt, and we could start on time. Our next speaker had what I call a trans-Pacific education. He first got his DVM degree in the Asabu University, and then he had his master's degree and his PhD in the University of Minnesota. He spent 2 years, in fact, with Boehringer Ingelheim here in Japan, and currently for 11 years now is a practitioner, and as you saw earlier, he's also an officer at the Japanese Association of Swine Veterinarians. We are proud to have him speak to us today on a very important topic, and you will hear this from this point on in some of the speakers as well and in some of the workshops to talk about controlling or enhancing PRRS resilience through biosecurity. We have Dr. Satoshi Otake.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Carlo. It was such a nice of you. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm not using pin mic. Is that okay? Good. All right. Well, this is clearly such a great honor to be invited to be here to share the information with you today. And I really appreciate first Boehringer Ingelheim for the invitation and giving me this opportunity to be here. So thank you so much. So today, my talk is going to be the fundamentals of PRRS resilience, which is mainly what I'm focusing on, biosecurity. So, everybody knows the biosecurity. This is nothing new, and everybody understands the importance of biosecurity. But still, we can't emphasize enough about the importance of biosecurity. So I think we are going to spend most of our time late this morning and maybe afternoon focus on the biosecurity. So, but my talk is going to be very straightforward and very simple. So the topics that I like to cover today are as follows. At the beginning, I'd like to mention a little bit about the trend of the disease challenges in Asia. And mainly, I'd like to just emphasize that PRRS is clearly the most economically significant pathogens in Asia. And I'm going to show you some data of that. Then we can discuss about the biosecurity, because we believe that biosecurity is one of the fundamental of PRRS resilience, which we are talking about today and even maybe tomorrow going. Then I'd like to share some data from the study that we recently completed in Japan in regards to the relationship between the antibiotics usage and the PRRS and the biosecurity level. Because that data can remind you and even emphasize the importance that the controlling PRRS going through the biosecurity is very, very necessary if you really want to reduce the use of antibiotics in the pig farms. Because, from North America and Europe, and obviously, and even some countries in Asia, such as Japan and maybe South Korea too, we have been having a lot of challenge from the both production side and public that we are forced to reduce the antibiotics usage, and it's going to be tighter and tighter in the future too. So, and we can't neglect about that issue when we are thinking about PRRS or biosecurity. Then I'd like to wrap up my presentation with the summary and take-home messages that hopefully you can bring back to your country. Okay. Before I get started, I'd like to make some acknowledgement, because I always easily forget if I keep that at the last, so which is not very nice. So I always do that at the beginning. And there are 3 significant organizations that I should acknowledge at the beginning, which is one, JSV, Japanese Association of Swine Veterinarians, and a number of members of the associations. I will see all of you, or most of you in this audience. So, for tonight or some occasion, I'd encourage you from the other countries if you have some interaction with our members. So I'd encourage you to do that. and also at the University of Tokyo, and NARO, National Agriculture and Food Research Organization. So those three organizations, the reason why I want to acknowledge is that as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to show some data from the study, and that study is the collaborative effort among those three organizations. So a lot of data I'm going to show you does not belong to me, and all the credit from that study that I'm going to share with you today should go to those three organizations. And I also would like to thank especially Dr. Fumiko Koike and Munetaka Aoi in this audience today too, and who is from the SMC Inc. That is a local diagnostic company that we are widely using. And they kindly allow me to share some diagnostic data to show you today. So, and last but not least, my secretary Yoko. She has been working very, very hard every day to make my life much easier. So she's the one who done a lot of job to coordinate my travel schedule and making a lot of slides and organizing the data. So without her, probably I'm not even here today. So she should get a lot of credit too. Anyway, so let's talk about parasite disease and biosecurity. I don't think I have to even mention that, but we have so many diseases in Asia, right? Yeah, we have to admit. Of course, it depends on the country, but it depends on the individual farm. But in general, in Asia, we are surrounded with so many diseases. Transboundary diseases, FMD, classical swine fever, Ojeski disease, high pathogenic PRRS, and PD. Again, it depends on what country you are from. Especially, for example, we as a Japan, we are free from FMD. Classical swine fever, we are free of that. And Ojeski, we are very close to be free. Not yet, but it's going to be very soon. And we do not have high pathogenic PRRS, but we do have PD. It joined our portfolio since 2014. But for example, if you look at China or Thai or Vietnam, I mean, you guys know more than I do, but you may have all of them. But besides transboundary infectious pathogens, if you look at the economically significant pathogens, such as PRRS, PCV2, influenza, MHIO, APP, strep cis, H. pylori, you name them. Yeah, we can find them everywhere, almost, in Asia. So when we are thinking about and talking about the biosecurity, and I will touch a little bit the issue about the reduction of the antibiotics in your pig farm. We have to understand that this is the condition that we are raising our pigs. Same message with the different data from a different angle. So this slide is showing the diagnostic data, particularly from Japan, about the antigen detection percentage of the respiratory diseases. You will see, let's see. PRRS here, PCV2, and that one is MHIO, strep cis, Pasteurella, APP. You will clearly see who our enemies are. This portfolio may be different from your country, but mainly, the point of this slide is that, again, those pathogens are what we are dealing with every day. So PRRS. So I don't have to make any introduction about PRRS. Everybody knows, and even more than I do. PRRS clearly eating our money most in our history. PRRS is one of the most, probably PRRS is not the one, PRRS is the most economically significant pathogens. And the data, the famous study, economical analysis from the Dr. Otake from Iowa State University on 2011 clearly shows that United States are losing so much money only due to PRRS. And we conducted, well, Dr. Yamane from NARO, actually, he conducted a nice financial simulation study, and he also clearly showed that in Japan, and we've been losing more than 28 billion Japanese yen per year only due to PRRS. So clearly, PRRS is our enemy because they are stealing our money. And in this morning, some of the speakers already mentioned, and we all know that PRRS virus is genetically diverse, which means that continuous emergence of the high virulent strains is very common. In North America, 184 or 174, very famous one. And in Asia, again, depends on the country, but in China or Southeastern Asia, such as Thai or Vietnam, high pathogenic PRRS virus strain is what you might happen to suffer in some cases. We also know that, though, PRRS can be controlled and sometimes even eliminated if the condition allows from the individual farm. However, again, the reinfection of the new strain or even existing strain is a frequent event. That's why we have to focus on biosecurity and the regional approach if we want to make a next step to do a better control on the PRRS. That's why we are here. This slide simplified and shows the very important 5 keys for strategical control of PRRS in my mind. Actually, this central dogma, the concept does not necessarily apply only for PRRS, but it's also true for any kind of infectious disease. The PRRS, especially PRRS, control has to be comprehensive approach. It's not one by one. It has to have those 5 keys, and you can't miss any of them. 1, the herd immunity, including vaccination, very important. And the peak flow with the management and the husbandry, the things that you do day by day in your farm. Then biosecurity, which is what I'm going to focus mainly for my talk. And the monitoring and testing. Then lastly, you also need communication and education. You always have to have those 5. You can't rely only on the herd immunity, or you can't rely only on the biosecurity. Even though I spend most of my time in my talk to emphasize the biosecurity, it does not necessarily mean that we can't neglect some other things. We always have to have those 5 in your mind. And PRRS, again, you require a comprehensive approach for PRRS control. Very simple, but very important to remind yourself. Then it comes to biosecurity. I always think, and I always do not hesitate to say that biosecurity is only way and only the true proactive approach for disease prevention. Even though I emphasize that PRRS control has to be a comprehensive approach, including those 5 key important factors, but still, ultimately, if you do not have the pathogens in your farm or in your region or even your nation, then you don't have to do anything. Well, that situation like heaven does not always happen, but we always have to look for the ideal situation. We cannot maybe achieve that today or tomorrow, but who knows, maybe 10 years from now or 20 years. So we have to aim high. At the same time, we have to see our realistic day by day too. But for the meaning, I do not always hesitate to say that biosecurity is the true proactive approach of disease prevention. Especially, we are living in a competitive swine market, dealing with the high feed costs and the volatile pork price. And doesn't matter importing or exporting, each country heavily relies on trade. So under the condition, impact of transboundary diseases that I already mentioned in the list is huge. But not even transboundary pathogens, but also the impact of economically significant diseases, and PRRS is the biggest one. That is bad enough. So again, we have to understand this is a situation that we are dealing with. So I do not even have to emphasize anymore about the importance of biosecurity, right? So 5 essences of biosecurity in my mind, and I hope you can agree with that too. When we are thinking about biosecurity or even trying to implement the biosecurity in each individual farm or area regional level, the biosecurity has to have those 5 components. To me, biosecurity has to be science-based. It's not a religion or it's not a voodoo magic or something like that. It has to have a science. That means that it has to be reproducible. That's what the science is, to me. And the biosecurity has to be practically feasible. That means that it has to be very simple and organized that anybody can do in a farm. And the biosecurity has to be effective. So you always have to watch and analyze the cost and the benefit for the biosecurity. And the biosecurity has to be committed to continue almost forever. So execution comes playing very, very important role. Then last but not least, biosecurity has to be measurable. If you don't measure, you can manage. So the measure of the biosecurity is very, very important. Then later I'm going to introduce some tools that we are using in Japan and North America that make the biosecurity measurable. So I just want to emphasize that there are tools that make it available and to make the biosecurity measurable. But once again, no measure, no manage. So biosecurity consists of 3 components. One is the external biosecurity, which is the biosecurity between farms. That is to prevent new introduction of pathogens into a farm. And the second one is the internal biosecurity, which is the biosecurity within a farm. That is to minimize the transmission of pathogens that already exist within a farm. Then third component is the execution. You have to continue, it has to be sustainable. Monitoring, audit, education, communication, whatever you can do, it has to be sustainable. I said biosecurity has to be science-based, and we believe that PRRS is the very good example to make our eyes wide open. That was almost more than 20 years ago that we did not know almost anything about the transmission route of PRRS, but now we know a lot. And we've done, the industry, especially the research team from North America and Europe too, have done a lot of biosecurity research on PRRS and transmission studies and investigation on the farm. And now we pretty much know and understand where the PRRS comes from into your farm. One thing that I missed on this slide, I'm not going to go through each one of them anyway, but if you are interested, I referenced the publications on each transmission route, so you can always go back to that. But, I put an also here, but the one thing that I'm missing here is the feed, which is very recent data that Dr. Scott D from Pipestone Vet Clinic clearly showed that he used to show the transmission risk of PD virus by feed. But recent follow-up data from him clearly showed that also PRRS virus, and I believe that strain was 174 particularly. Yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong. But that particular strain, I don't know if the other strains does the same, but he clearly shows that the PRRS virus can be transmitted by contaminated feed too. So I should have updated this list, including feed. Anyway. I also said biosecurity has to be measurable. Again, it's not a religion, it's not a voodoo magic or something like that. It has to be measured with the numbers so that everybody can see the same value. And I also mentioned that there are tools already that are available out there that make biosecurity measurable. And one of the best examples is the PADRAP that has been widely used already in North America mainly. And in Japan, our country, and we created BioAsset, which is the, also the biosecurity risk, the PRRS risk assessment tool that is meant to be more suitable to Japanese swine industry because, and also there's another tool from Europe that is called BioCheck that is also widely used, that is from the Ghent University in Belgium. But we've used those tools to try to adapt in a Japanese situation. But many cases we happen to find the conclusion that and we do not necessarily have the same conditions as what the North American industry has. So we happen to have the conclusion that we have to modify them to try to be more suitable to our industry. So that's what the bioasset is. I'm not going to spend too much time to explain and introducing bioasset, but basically the concept is the same. And just one of the tools that we are widely using in our country to make the biosecurity measurable. So again, I'm not going to spend any time to dig into the explain about the bioasset, but this is how the bioasset looks like, and we measured each one of the 3 components. I'm not expecting you to read them because they are written in Japanese, but we evaluate external biosecurity, internal biosecurity, and this yellow column is the execution, monitoring, and audit. Then it gives you, if you take a bioasset and maybe it takes a couple of hours or so, then that will give you a score like this. This is the external biosecurity, including location or introducing guilts or semen. And if you look at the internal biosecurity risks, there are pen layout or peak flow or even needle management too. So that will give you a score, and the higher score is better. So that might be a little bit different from the PRRS if you are familiar with the PRRS, so it's opposite. But so I hope you do not get confused. But anyway, my point of those slides is just to emphasize that you have to have a tool to measure the biosecurity. Oh, and I almost forgot, maybe the following speaker after my talk are going to be maybe address some other tools that is combat. So that is also one of the assessment tools to bioasset. So there are some tools that are available. So I'm not saying that Fitch is better than the others or so, but again, no measure, no manage. Oops. I'm running out of time. So biosecurity is very important. So I can't emphasize enough about that. Then at the beginning, I mentioned that antibiotics usage, the reduction of the antibiotics in a pig farm is going to be, and it is already a hot topic and a very important issue, and clearly in Europe. And obviously, it's coming in North America, and it already happened. Then it's coming in Japan for sure, and I believe it's already happening in South Korea. Maybe you guys know more than I do. And even though if it's not happening now in your countries, it is coming sometime in the future. So when we are thinking about controlling PRRS and the biosecurity, you always have to think if controlling PRRS and biosecurity may have some impact or significant role to help you to reduce the antibiotics usage or not. So to answer the questions, we didn't have any data at the beginning. I'm talking about Japan. So maybe you guys do, but if we do not know what our situations are currently, then we can't improve or we can't do anything. So 3 years ago, we conducted a study, and that is a study that I mentioned as the collaborative effort among the 3 organizations, Japanese Association of Swine Veterinarians, University of Tokyo, and NARO, and JMAF. So we did a survey on the use of the antibiotics in pig farms in Japan, and I'm going to show and share a little bit of those data. So the objective of that study was to understand the actual use of the antibiotics, how much and what kind of drugs we are using in a pig farm in Japan. And also we tried to examine if there's any correlation between antibiotics usage, which is monitored by prescription records by veterinarians, and the production performance, which is monitored by pig info. That is benchmarking system that we originally created for the Japanese swine industry. So it's similar like a pig jump or a polystick or something like that, if that helps you to understand what the pig info is. And also, we try to see if there's a relationship between antibiotics usage and the disease profile, such as PRRS, higher, and APP in this case. And also with the biosecurity level that is monitored by bioasset that I explained already. So the study period of time of this study was from January through December of 2015. So it was 12 months. And the number of pig farms that we selected was a total of 121 farms, covered by 21 prefectures and 13 vet clinics involved. So I have to admit that is not very large size of sampling, but we had to start somewhere, and we believe it's better than nothing. So we believe that it was a good start. And we have been following and keeping up the more data in the future. So I hope we can have an opportunity sometime in the near future to share more information. But this is at least what we got at this moment. So as I mentioned, among the 121 pig farms, you can clearly see there's so many varieties, even on the sow inventory. So the average of sow inventory size was 540. But the smallest guy was only 23,000, the biggest one was almost 5,000. So you will clearly see the difference, the variation. And this is the number of the total amount of antibiotics used that we got from this study. And we found the average amount of antibiotics used was the 25.3 grams per marketed pig. To be honest, we are not sure if that is too much or too less or just about right, because that was only the number that we got. Well, probably, we are going to collect more data in the future, and if we see some trends or comparison, then we will get to the point that, this is something that we have to improve, or we are doing relatively better than other countries. But anyway, so this is the number that we got today. So this is very busy slide, sorry for that, but it just shows you the, I'm running out of time, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but it shows the, the tetracycline or penicillin or macrolide are the ones that we are using most. And this is a very important slide. And one of the messages that I'd like to deliver today. We also found from this study that, if you have PRRS, you have to use more drugs. The PRRS positive farms, again, this is only a small number, but this clearly shows the correlation statistically that PRRS positive farms tends to use more antibiotics in your farm. So if you can't control PRRS, and if you do not do a very good job on the biosecurity, then you cannot even have any chance to reduce antibiotics in your farm. The study clearly shows that. Even the biosecurity. So this is another study, but that is the spin-off of the study that I already mentioned, and mainly focus on the relationship between the bioasset score and the use of the antibiotics in a pig farm. And I'm gonna be running quickly to share those data with you now. So I briefly already introduced a little bit about the bioasset, but if you're the bioasset, you are gonna get the score in each category, such as this. In the external biosecurity, you're gonna get score for the farm location or whatever, and the internal biosecurity, you're gonna get score for the pen layout or pig flow or even needle management. So this is just a part of them, but just to give you some idea about what the bioasset does to you. And there are some interesting results to convince us that yes, biosecurity can indeed contribute to reduce the antibiotics usage in your pig farm. Basically, higher biosecurity score, which is good, higher is better in a bioasset, then less amount of antibiotics used. Within the 33 pig farms, under the condition of this study, we found that total antimicrobial usage tends to decline 0.33 grams per day, as the external biosecurity score increases 1 point. That's what this graph shows. We also found that again, within the 33 pig farms under this condition, only under this condition though, fluoroquinolones, particularly, the use of the fluoroquinolone tends to decline 1.41 gram per day as internal biosecurity score, especially the pig flow score, increases 1 point. So, we often say and emphasize that, biosecurity, we have to do a better job on the biosecurity, and we have to do a good job on the pig flow. Yes, we are on the same, we are in the right direction. We are doing good. If we are thinking about reducing the antibiotics, yeah, you have to control PRRS, and you have to do a good job on the biosecurity externally, and also even internally, especially focusing on the pig flow. And that's the message from this study. So discussion from this study, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to just cut them off. But the main message that I'd like to deliver to you from the study was that we have to do further investigation if the results are reproducible or not. But at this moment, at least, we can clearly say that those results from this study suggest the improvement of the biosecurity level in a pig farm can, yes, it can possibly contribute to reduce antibiotics usage. I also want to emphasize at the last moment to say this, that biosecurity, you can't do alone. Biosecurity requires regional and global collaboration because we all share the disease risk. FMD, PCV2 many years ago, and now PED, and who knows what's coming next. So we all share the disease in Asia and even the other continent too. So, because we all share the disease, we also have to share the knowledge and information and even passion. And opportunity like this, for the meeting, I again would like to thank the Boring England for giving us this opportunity to get together from the other Asian countries to talk about PRRS, but it's not only PRRS, it's more like the share the passion and the knowledge and for the biosecurity to make the global and regional collaboration. So we have to take that opportunity to make it happen in each one of our countries. Because it's already happening in North America, and it's happening in Japan too. So if you are not doing anything in your country, we strongly encourage you to do something, because you have to start somewhere. You can't do a perfect job today, but you have to start somewhere, and earlier is better. So the summary of my talk, I already mentioned that, but today pig industries in Asia still have lots of disease challenges. FMD, PRRS, you name them. We have them all, basically. And PRRS clearly is the most economically significant pathogen, and the biosecurity is the fundamental PRRS resilience. And due to higher production cost and public pressure, antibiotics usage will be challenged, and it will be even more tighter and tighter in the future. So controlling PRRS through biosecurity, yes, it can contribute to reduce antibiotic usage in pig farms. And the biosecurity, once again, has to be a comprehensive approach, and it requires regional and global collaboration. Thank you very much for the attention. Sorry for that.